Welcome back. In the last episode, we explored the concept that getting premium clients doesn't require being the loudest and flashiest in the room. Instead, we introduced a better approach, positioning yourself as the unmatched solution by stepping into the power of your innovative advantage. Now, we're going to dive into one of my favorite aspects of the EasyS method, conversions, because who wants a list full of lurkers and freebie seekers? And listen, at this point, you know that you want fast conversions. You want people who enter your world and almost immediately realize and decide that they want to work with you, no convincing necessary. And you want better clients and more of them, the kind that come ready to do the work, fully committed to the transformation, and will stop at nothing to ensure it happens. And you want an automated and evergreen process, one that doesn't require you or your team to handhold every person to get to that yes. In this episode, I'll show you exactly how to do that using what I call the Netflix effect to get premium high intent leads to sell themselves in 48 hours. Let's jump right into it with some real talk. A great buying experience is one where you don't feel like you're being sold to. It feels easy and natural. But what you need to understand to achieve this is selling doesn't happen solely on sales calls. And it's the same in workshops, lives, or webinars where you see people signing up, but when it comes to getting them to buy, it's unpredictable and exhausting. That's why many of you find yourselves or your team sitting through hour-long sales calls, sometimes even multiple ones, only to hear responses like, "Can I think about it?" or "This is amazing, but right now isn't the right time," or worse yet, "I can't afford it." Or you find your revenue is dependent on a hit or miss process that may create one amazing launch and the next time you hear silence. The problem lies in how you're addressing the issue. You're not going to dig your way out of this hole by optimizing your sales calls or webinars. Your audience is too sophisticated for that. You're also not going to solve this by spending more money on ads so you can generate more leads, so you can book more calls, creating an endless cycle of the same problem. You're left just spending even more money to funnel people into a broken process. So how do you alleviate rather than exasperate the problem? The solution is simple. Instead of you selling your leads, you need your leads to sell themselves. And getting leads to sell themselves comes down to three things. One, understanding that your audience has three levels of intent. Two, tailoring your messaging and marketing to people with the right level of intent. Three, creating a friction-free pathway to the easiest yes. Simply put, you need to create a pre-selling system that automates the speed at which your clients are able to make a decision, allowing your customers to sell themselves. I call this pre-selling system the infinite sales highway, and it's the only system in existence that automates conversions with an infinite lane sales highway where leads can go through the buying process without you actively needing to be on the phone, in the DMs, or on a live webinar to get them to an easy yes. This may sound too good to be true, but it's not. And better yet, it's all built on actual human behavior, not trendy marketing tactics that are always changing. Let's start here by understanding the levels of intent within your audience. Regardless of your industry or who you're selling to, your audience falls into three levels of intent. They either have a high level of intent, mid-level of intent, or a low level of intent. Let's start with low intent. Low intent leads make up the largest part of your audience. And unfortunately, this is who you've been taught to market to. Low intent leads are your hardest sell because they either don't know they have a problem or they're not prioritizing solving that problem. Getting low intent leads to buy requires force, pressure, and time, which creates an awkward and exhausting sales experience. Now, mid intent leads are those who have the need, but don't necessarily have the desire. So while they're struggling with the problem, they haven't made solving that problem their main priority. But unlike low intent leads who have no intention to purchase, mid intent leads will purchase when they come across an innovative solution and are given the time to experience a belief shift. Now, high intent leads are the gold standard. They're actively seeking a solution to their problem, and they will stop at nothing in order to solve it. And because they have made solving their problem a priority, they understand the value behind finding the best and most innovative solution to their problem at any cost. No convincing necessary. And they are fully committed to solving their problem. They are the clients that come in with enthusiasm, do the work, and stop at nothing to create the change they've eagerly awaited. So let me get real. If you're finding that your audience gets really excited about your launches, webinars, and lead magnets or any other free content, but they don't actually sign up, then you're dealing with the consequences of attracting low intent leads. You may not be doing this on purpose, but anytime we find ourselves trying to convince, we are attracting low intent leads. So let me illustrate what this looks like. I have a client named Jen. When we met, Jen spent years and tons of resources building an email list of over 15,000 people, and it amassed a huge following. following. And from the outside looking in, it seemed like she had everything going right. But the reality is, despite her huge list, she was struggling to make predictable sales. And at the end of each month, she'd find herself frustrated that she was spending so much time and money growing a list and following and marketing to them, but still experiencing inconsistency and a roller coaster of sales. The problem was that her list was filled with low intent people who just wanted her really compelling freebie and exciting content, but they didn't want anything else. Look, I've seen this time and time again, and here's what I want you to understand. Messaging is a powerful attractor, and oftentimes without realizing it, we're using messaging that resonates with low intent leads rather than high intent ones. So the first strategy we implemented for Jen was to shift her messaging to speak directly to high intent premium clients. This repelled all the freebie seekers and instead attracted the exact clients that she wanted to work with into an infinite sales highway that then let them binge their way to an easy yes in just 48 hours. Now, within 30 days, she was able to double her revenue and sign 4 clients into her highest priced $15,000 offer. And that was the complete turnaround and results I've seen happening over and over again when people stop chasing and instead let their leads sell themselves. Now, some of you might have a slightly different problem than what Jen was experiencing. Your messaging may be already bringing in high intent leads, but what you're finding is that they're just not turning into actual committed customers. And the reason is that your front-facing lead generating message may be speaking to high intent leads, but the system you're using to convert them is still geared towards low intent leads. That is why your messaging and sales system needs to be approached holistically. High intent buyers make decisions differently than low intent buyers. They don't want to sit through a sales process that asks them to give a bunch of their time just to learn how they can work with you. They want the fastest and easiest way to see that you are the innovative solution that they've been desperately searching for. To get your leads to sell themselves, we need to present high intent leads with the right information in the right way at the right time. Here's how we do that. The first is that it has to be evergreen. High intent leads highly value their time and prefer content that can be consumed at their own convenience. They don't want to rearrange their schedule to learn about how your offerings can benefit them. Next, it needs to be innovative. When you're speaking to a sophisticated buyer, the same old won't cut it. They're looking for that, yes, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need reaction that only innovation can deliver. Lastly, it has to be bingeable. We don't want to be just another pitch in their busy week. Instead of adding to their decision fatigue, we want to provide a system that empowers them to make quick micro decisions so they can binge their way to a confident yes. When you combine these 3 elements, you're on the way to creating a holistic sales system that speaks directly to your high intent leads. From there, what we want to do is create an automated process that empowers them to make the fastest decision possible while removing any barriers that could cause decision fatigue and slow them down. This is what drives the infinite sales highway because confidence equals speed. And one of the most effective ways to instill confidence is to anticipate someone's needs and questions before they even arise. When you provide that seamless experience where their needs and questions are anticipated and addressed before they even ask, your customers become so convinced that they sell themselves on your offer without you actually needing to convince them. And that's exactly what you want. When customers can navigate through the buying process on their own, systematically and automatically, and the end result is an enthusiastic and easy yes. You're now on the pathway to creating a scalable offer. This is what I call mimic decision making. Traditionally, sales is seen as a process of convincing and persuading people to say yes. However, in reality, a sales conversation is a series of micro decisions leading up to the final yes. And the power behind the Netflix effect is creating micro decisions along the pathway, which increases their confidence, making the speed at which they convert even faster. Since high intent leads are in solution seeking mode, they're going to face the struggle of combing through a massive amount of information and pitches that can often feel like it all sounds the same. Instead, our process presents them with micro decisions set along a bingeable pathway that methodically anticipates and answers the specific series of questions that your high intent leads naturally go through in their decision-making process. Mimic decision-making at its core recognizes that psychologically, we all have a mental list of questions that we're trying to check off before we make a purchase. When we understand, acknowledge, and anticipate this mental list and address it methodically in our sales process, our leads can confidently purchase with ease and speed. But if we present buyers with too much information at one time, or not in the order that they naturally move through those questions, then their brain struggles to process and understand if the solution that they're presented with is actually what they need to solve their problems. This is why 5-day challenges, webinars, and long sales calls are also overwhelming for high intent leads. You may be providing a massive amount of knowledge and value, but it's not translating to the sales you want because your audience is trying to dissect and digest the information you've given them and see if it checks all the boxes that allows them to make that decision. If your audience has to sit there and think, does this have everything I'm looking for? You've already lost them. And listen, this isn't just affecting your business, it's affecting the way you operate and feel within your business. It requires you to constantly be on, giving up weeknights and weekends with your family as you're glued to the idea of fixing the problem and figuring out how to create more content and attract more people. But all you're doing is exasperating this problem over and over again. What we really need to understand is that we want our leads to sell themselves. We want them to show up on our sales calls, pre-sold and ready to say yes. By answering their questions in a way that mimics their own decision-making process and feels incredible to them, it becomes a natural process that doesn't feel like a sales pitch at all. For me and my clients, our calls only last 20 to 30 minutes, and they're filled with people who, before you even open your mouth to speak, are saying, I know I want to work with you, and this is exactly what I've needed. They're repeating back all the things you've taught them through your bingeable process and highlighting how it answered their questions and specific needs in a way that nobody else has. Imagine being on a call where instead of you selling them, they start selling you on why they should work with you. I understand that conversions are crucial for our business, but it doesn't have to be this frustrating process. You can and should create a process that allows your leads to sell themselves and come to calls completely pre-sold, ready to say yes. This is what has transformed my business and allowed me to check out at 2 p.m., spend time with my family, coach my son's soccer team, or simply enjoy the life I've created without constantly being online. And I know you've got your own passions or things that you want to be doing with your life that right now just feel out of reach. And the Infinite Sales Highway is the answer to you finally having a life that you enjoy while your business is still running on its own without you or your team doing all the heavy lifting of getting people there. And this is the power behind the Netflix effect. It allows your audience to make micro decisions through a bingeable process, generating the certainty and clarity that leads to an easy yes. So let's put this all together. The core foundation of the highway is your innovation. And so our first step is to leverage your methodology, the key that opens all doors so that you become a market of one. Next, we integrate your methodology into the Infinite Sales Highway, attracting mid and high intent leads into a bingeable video or audio system where they can sell themselves on saying yes and taking the next step, like a sales call. This ensures that high intent leads can make quick decisions while feeling confident in their choices, leading to an easy yes within 48 hours. You're going through our bingeable system right now, by the way. But here's the thing. Simply stringing together 5 or 6 videos or audio episodes doesn't automatically make it binge worthy. And mimic decision-making isn't about overcoming objections. The decisive moment in a sales process is when you say to your lead, are you ready to get started? If before that crucial moment, they're not saying to themselves, I'm in, when is this person going to ask me for money already? If they aren't saying things like that, then they are not pre-sold. Instead, if you ask them to get started and they aren't ready, they're going to hesitate. At best, they'll be excited and curious, but just not there. Or at worst, they're confused and out of here. The questions people ask you when they're not ready to get started, but just want to be convinced are what we call objections. They are your lead's attempt at trying to help you convince them. But we don't want to play the convincing game. Instead, when you anticipate their questions and their natural course of behavior and infuse them into your bingeable system, then you're addressing worries without them developing into unaddressed needs, which become dreaded objections. It sounds subtle, but human psychology is a subtle thing. And the truth is, a question anticipated versus a question asked makes all the difference in a buyer's decision-making process. And when you're able to proactively address all facets of decision-making, the motivation, knowledge, social influence, emotions, etc., and sets them up to happen incrementally in the right order at the right time, it elicits an easy yes. This is what I want for you. I want you to no longer feel the pressure to be the best salesperson, but rather focus on allowing your leads to make the decision themselves. In this episode, we've discussed the power of automating and systemizing your conversion process to empower your leads to sell themselves. We've explored the importance of understanding different levels of intent among your leads and optimizing your system accordingly. The focus has been on creating an infinite sales highway that caters to high and mid-intent leads. While lead conversion is crucial, delivering exceptional results at scale and ensuring long-term client retention is equally important. In the next episode, we will dive into the results and retention process, providing insights on how to achieve outstanding outcomes for your clients while fostering long-term relationships. We'll talk about the pure profit strategy of retention and how by implementing the strategies that we're going to cover next, you'll be able to not only attract and convert leads effectively, but also deliver exceptional results and retain your clients for the long run and turn them into your most effective sales team. So stay tuned.